All right. Good morning once again. This is R.P.G, the rugged prophetic ghost of alienation on Change Your Damn Perspective Radio. Change Your Damn 3D Perspective Radio.
Our guest this week is a gentleman.
This my man, A-Man Lance J Radio Show. My man James Lewis III. I'm gonna let y'all hear a little bit of what inspired this whole radio broadcast.
He is the executive director of the Father's Wish Foundation. As a part of that foundation, goes by the moniker of Dr. Lifeguard, which he's going to explain. He is literally in South Florida preparing to go to Haiti on a mission trip tomorrow, where he's going to do some work with the local team down there, do some ministry, just really helping people out. Our next guest is also an alumnus of Pine Forest Academy, and he probably doesn't know this, but he is my frat brother in Sigma Psi Omega.
Yes, sir.
If you didn't go to Pine Forest Academy, you don't know nothing about that blue and orange, but we are frat brothers. I would like to introduce to my audience, like I said, the ultimate big homie. If you're looking at the show right now, you'll see a picture of him dunking, doing a windmill, and he's literally perpendicular to the rim. I want to introduce to everybody Damon Leggett. What's going on, man?
Yes, in the building. Glad to be in the building.
We've come a long way. I remember growing up with you. I remember the fit that my family did in Trenton.
Yes, sir.
And I remember you and Lee Hines. I remember kicking it with you guys, all the older guys, and Kareem, and I were always trying to kind of be in the mix. And I remember
being out. You was in good hands in Trenton with me. You was in good hands.
So I remember being out in front of Mount Sinai playing kickball and hopscotch with y'all. You were maybe like 10, 11. I was like 8.
Yeah. So
a lot is going down since then.
Yes, sir. That's
so
where it all began for me, though.
That's where it all began. Tell us, Damon, about you have a really interesting story. Everyone that I interview has an interesting story. We try to get people that are in the Christian community. Many of them are Adventists, but they're not always Adventists. But just your whole circuitous route to growing up. I know you grew up. You're a PK just like me. You're an East Coast guy just like me. But you've had some really interesting experience and obviously really excelled in the athletic realm and played a lot of ball, man. Just I say this often, but when I have a really good interview, I generally just get out the way and let them tell their story, man. Just tell us what it was like kind of growing up in the Adventist church, growing up as a PK, and how you really got into hooping at the level, and just take it from there.
Okay, for sure. First I want to start off to say I'm proud of my baby bro. I'm checking your workout. Take my hat off to you, man, for real. Your pedigree and what you have done in athletics is commendable. We need more strong black brothers to give back in that way, and I'll share my philosophy as far as I think athletics is the ultimate way to keep our young people, I call it in striking distance, right? Because if you want to save a life, which I do, no matter what block, neighborhood I go in, I want to save a life. That's where the moniker Dr. Lifeguard comes. My ultimate goal is to be able to save a life. But if you're not in striking distance, if you can't physically put your hands on them, how are you going to save a life? Right? And naturally, God has given me a out of this world ability, and I didn't even know why I had the ability that I did to play sports the way I did, because football was the first love. Y'all didn't get to experience the first gift, right? Pine Forest didn't have a football program. Right? if they did, it would be a whole nother chapter. All right, but so I had to fall back on the second love, which was basketball, but football was the first. But outreach with.
All right, so Basically, what you're hearing is the story of dominion. There's really four stories. There's the story of redemption. That's for the Father. It's the story of wilderness wandering. It's the story for the Son, his love, chasing after his lost sheep wandering in the wilderness. So there's the story of redemption, the story of wilderness wandering. Then there's the story of dominion, which is the perfect walk that Adam and his descendants experienced after the breath of life was breathed into his nostrils, which is the Holy Spirit. So you got a story for the Father, story of redemption, a story for the Son, those who are wandering, lost, wandering in the wilderness, who are sheep, who need a shepherd to come and save them and bring them back into the fold. And then you have the story of dominion. That's the Enoch walk. And then there's the fourth and final story. That's the story of the fallen. That's the vagabond wanderer in the land of Nod. Cain was banished to the land of Nod to be a vagabond and a restless wanderer, where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, the land of Nod. When you wander in Nod, there's no coming back from Nod. When you wander in Nod, when you're a restless vagabond wanderer, and when probation closes, if you still in the land of Nod, that's it. So there's four stories. There's two walks. There's two paths. There's the path in Nod, and then the path down the story of dominion. The story of dominion is the path that the Father walks back and forth to get the lost sheep wandering in the wilderness and bring them back into the fold of redemption. The sheepfold, the pen is the fold of redemption that the master keeps walking down the path, the way, back and forth down that path. But the path is the way. This is the way, walk ye in it. That's the story of dominion. That walk down the path, back and forth, to get the lost and bring them back into the fold. But three of those stories are temporary. Three of those stories are temporary. The wilderness wandering of the lost is temporary. The sheepfold of redemption is temporary. That's right. The sheepfold of redemption is temporary. And the restless wanderer, vagabond in Nod, everybody who's in that category, that's temporary too. So there is only one way. There is only one walk. The walk of dominion. The story of dominion. And I have been given the opportunity to be an interpreter, to tell you that story, because that is my walk. In John chapter 10, he said, my sheep hear my voice. They know me and they will come. God communicates in many different ways. One of them is symbols. His language of communication in symbols is called typology. There's a prototype. I said this before, but if y'all wasn't listening, I'm going to give it to you here on the radio show, R.P.G radio, Rugged Prophetic Ghost. All right. There's a prototype. This the original, the prototype. Whatever God established in the beginning, I.T.B. in Hollywood. That's the original prototype. Then he gives you the type, which is the original symbol that he introduces to humanity. Adam and Eve in the garden were taught how to slay a lamb. The type, which was the symbol, showing them how God was going to redeem any of their children that ended up wandering in the wilderness and needed a shepherd to come and get them. He showed them how to sacrifice the lamb. It was a type, it was a symbol, a teaching tool, a way of communication. Pictures. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I could show you better than I could tell you. A type. And then when he came as the Messiah and died on the cross, every time one of Adam and Eve's children sacrificed that lamb, up until the point that he hung on the cross and hung his head and said, "It is finished," and died. And the temple veil was ripped from top to bottom. It is finished. No longer do you need to sacrifice because it has been fulfilled. The teaching aid has come to fulfillment. There's no longer need to teach the lesson once the anti-type comes. Typology. You got 3 phases of the typology. All right. So the walk, when he was telling his children, the redemption phase of you being in that sheepfold, the redemption phase of me coming and getting you and you being a follower and you being a disciple, all of that is temporary. I'm chasing you down and I'm coming and getting you. I'm bringing you to the fold, which is the hospital, to patch you up and get you back to that in the beginning walk, the story of the walk of dominion, where you are in me and I am in you and we are in the Father, co-heirs. Get in, not follow. If you're following, you're getting left behind. That's what John chapter 10 is telling you. If you are still following after he has come and died on the cross and give you that example, you are still following and you are going to be left behind. That's what John chapter 10 is saying. John chapter 10 is telling you that come out and be. This is transformation day. All right, be ye transformed. He takes you to the hospital of redemption to transform you back into Elohim. Let us make man in our image. Let us make Elohim in our image, after our likeness created he them. It's time to take the Elohim walk, not the Son of Man walk. That's you in the denomination of redemption. You in all of these sheepfolds of redemption. But once he packs you up, it's time for you to go out. And he said, go out into the highways and the byways. Now you are the shepherd. You are Elohim. You are him, co-heir. It's time to transform. He done transformed it to the lion. He not the lamb that's slain no more. You got to transform into a lion. Y'all all want to be sheep forever. If you still a sheep after you go into the sheepfold and you stay in the sheepfold, John chapter 10 says the wolf comes. All those that get left behind get devoured by the devourer, the wolf in sheep's clothing that comes in. He don't come in by the gate, he say. He climbs in up over the wall. Any sheep that's left behind get devoured. Those who transform walk in the way, and you go out into the highways and the byways, and now you going to get the lost sheep. That's the transformation. That's what John chapter 10 is saying. That's what God is saying the relationship is. All of these denominations, all of these things, all of these systems of worship that y'all in, temporary. And for all of y'all individuals in the roots, God never ever designed for the son that was at home, the righteous son that was at home when the prodigal son left. It wasn't, he never expected for the righteous son to take off after the prodigal son come, and then you take off and go wander and get lost and wallow in the muck and mire. That's what y'all doing. That's what y'all doing. He sent Paul and the disciples out to go get the Gentile children. But all of y'all people of color and African sons and daughters of God, who the Messiah walked and talked and left the example for you there, why would you need to leave the example that he set for you and join Christianity? Christianity came out of the disciples going up into Asia Minor and going up into Europe to get the descendants of Cain that were wandering, the restless wanderers in the land of Nod. Adam and Eve's children were not restless wanderers in the land of Nod. They weren't. Cain's descendants were. And the whole story of redemption was not to redeem Adam and Eve's children who were walking in the way. Noah, you are perfect in your generation. He didn't come to get Noah back in the way. No, he sent Noah to go get Cain's daughters. The sons of God saw the daughters of men that they were fair and went to marry as many of them as they could. The story of redemption, meets the story of dominion. Adam and Eve's children were distributing. They were the first responders, tossing out the life preservers of redemption to Cain's children, reeling them back into the way. The sons and daughters of Adam and Eve that fell for the nonsense of Cain became pagan idolatrous worshipers, and they had to be reeled back in. The Babylonians, the Assyrians, the Egyptians, all of that. You guys are leaving the way to go chase after those who are being redeemed. And then you're claiming the spiritual walk that they are having as yours, as if there's no better walk than the story of dominion, is what I'm trying to tell you. You get to choose your walk, is what I'm trying to tell you. If you get to choose your walk, why choose the walk of Abraham? If you get to choose your walk, why choose the walk of Rome? If you get to choose your walk, why choose the walk of Christianity? If you get to choose your walk, why choose the walk of Islam? If you get to choose your walk, why choose the walk of Hinduism or Buddhism? When the ultimate walk is the story of dominion, the walk of dominion. In the beginning, perfect walk prior to all of these fallen systems that Christ came to this earth to redeem and pull his children back out of. And you're claiming all of those walks as your faith and belief systems. And he came to the world and gave you an example, his direct example. And he said, and I'm going to read it to you. He said in John chapter 13, this is Jesus talking. In chapter 10, he said, well, it starts off and it says, it was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and to go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. You're in the same period of time right now. The world is about to celebrate the false, manufactured pagan Easter holiday, which it has been doing for 2,000 years. Julius Caesar, more than 2,000 years, Julius Caesar was on the throne even before Christ was born in Rome. And Julius Caesar changed the calendar. It's called the Julian calendar. So that the whole world will worship Easter as the pagan holiday. So by the time Jesus came and the Jews was totally paganed out, the Pharisees, Sadducees, all of them was totally paganed out. Herod was a Jew who was the governor of Judea, who was a Herodian, which means a Hellenistic Jew, meaning a Jew who believed in the pagan gods of the Greeks and the Romans. That's what a Herodian is, a Hellenistic Jew. So if you're a Hellenistic Jew, that tells you, yo, I don't serve the Messiah. I don't serve anything that has to do with the commandments or anything that y'all associate with the Jews, no matter what, no matter how they worship, y'all associate them with, y'all connect them to God as if God's blessings are bestowed on his children no matter how they believe. And if you keep believing that, you're gonna be left behind. Because that's nowhere in the historical record. Never ever has God given a blank check to his children to worship how they want to and still receive unlimited blessings from him. Just because you had that title, Jew, just because you claim that title, that means absolutely zero. It's about the walk of dominion. The story of dominion. And if you want the story of dominion, you got to come work out with R.P.G. Because ain't nobody else giving it to you. If they not telling you right now that the handwriting is on the wall. September 26, 2015, Babylon fell. You heard what I said. September 26, 2015, Babylon fell. You don't know what that means. If you don't know what that means, history has to repeat itself. Prophetic history has to repeat itself. Babylon has to fall before Christ comes back to crack the sky and take his children home. Babylon must fall. And that's why he allowed Babylon to fall before, so y'all would know exactly how it's going to happen. The Medes diverted the Euphrates River, diverted the whole river and marched into Babylon undetected underneath the wall and went in and and killed the king the same night that God wrote the handwriting on the wall. Mene, tekel, upharsin. Your kingdom has been divided from you and given to the Medes and the Persians. You have been tried in the balances and found wanting. And your kingdom has been divided and taken from you and given to the Medes and the Persians. Mene, tekel, upharsin. That same event happened on U.S. soil September 26, 2015. Babylon, the first time it happened, Babylon was having a party. They brought in the holy vessels of God and they defiled the vessels of God and were having a pagan orgy, sun god worship ritual with the holy vessels of God. And God wrote on the wall. And September 26, 2015, Rome came to the United States, to the city of brotherly love, and stood up and symbolically fulfilled the same exact thing. And from that time until now, God has been calling his children to seal those, Revelation chapter 7, seal those who are getting the seal of God, and separate his children, reinstitute, replenish enmity, so he can pass out this mark of the beast. Either you go, that's why you see this. You got 3 days, 72 hours from the time you hear this message to come out of Babylon. 72 hours, that's all you get. Where does that come from? Every time Lazarus was in the grave, 3 days. Christ was in the grave 3 days. When he sent Jonah to go tell Nineveh, it's either you get down or you lay down. 3 days. He spent 3 days in the belly of the whale before he delivered the message. All roads lead to Nineveh. This is your Nineveh moment. Nineveh heeded the call and the whole city was saved. Come out of Babylon. You got 72 hours from the time you hear this message. 72 hours to come out of them denominations, out of them folds. To come out of those other 3 walks. It's only one way. This is the way, walk ye in it. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man come to the Father but by me. Go out into the highways and the byways and bid them come. You're supposed to transform and then become the co-heir and go out into the highways and the byways. You can't be a permanent sheep. That's hospice. You're dead. Either you're a first responder or you're a sheep that gets devoured by the wolf. One or the other. You can't be a permanent sheep. You cannot be permanently in the denomination sitting there. The master physician has moved on. He's closing the hospital doors. It's over. It is written. Come out, that ye be not partakers of her sin. Come out and do some work. It's people out here to be saved. It's come out and be a Dr. Lifesaver. Let's go.